Another superstar in our presence. Thank you, honey. It was beautiful. So it is my honor and pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today. I joked with her in the foyer. My name is Ann. Her name is Anna. Believe it or not, I have a sister named Anna. It's a very popular name. And we're so glad you're here. Ana Noyce is the founder of Light Language University, the mission of which is to support the awakening of the planet and teach the connection of the physical and spiritual world as one. She is a practitioner and teacher of medical intuition, Akashic records, shamanic practices, Asui, and Karuna Reiki, and more. Did I do it right? Thank you. Okay. She's the author of A Journey into the Sacred Heart. The book is in the foyer. You're going to love every minute. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you. It's an honor and pleasure to be here to talk. Thank you. Well, my journey started a long time ago. It started at my birth. And actually this morning I was getting ready. I wasn't sure what I was going to talk to you guys about. And I thought, well, you know, we're just going to let it flow. And so the first thing that comes to me is that when I was 8 years old, I come home. Now we live on the Mexican border. We're on the Texas side. And I'm 8 years old and I come home from school, walk down the path to the house, and my dad says, he greets me. Now he's a tall cowboy. And we call it kind of a cosmic cowboy. He studied Buddhism and Native American studies and all different things. So he says, I want to show you something. So I said, okay. And I walk over and he says, you see this barrel? And I said, yeah, that's the barrel where we burn our trash. And he said, yeah. And he goes, he hits the barrel and it goes, and I went, what's in there? And he goes, there's a rattlesnake. And he said, I need you to know this, that the rattlesnake lives on our ranch. But as we go from the house to the barn, or we go to work with the animals here, this rattlesnake could bite us. And I went, okay. And he said, I'm going to give you a choice, Anna. You get to choose if this rattlesnake lives or it dies. What? And he opens the barrel and the snake's coiled and it's going, it's very afraid and it's angry. And I said, no, Dad, please, I don't want to kill the snake. What can we do? And he said, okay. And he says, let me grab a stick. And he grabs a stick and he puts it in a cardboard box. And I went, okay. And he puts it in the back of the truck and I load up in the back of the truck and we drive a couple of miles on the ranch. It was a big ranch. And as we drive on this big ranch, he takes out the box, lays it on the ground. And he says, you stay back over here by the truck, but I want to show you something. I'm not kidding you. If this was the box, my father is right here at the box. He opens it up, bends down, and the snake's coiled, and it's going, it's angry, right? We've been poking a snake. And he bends down and he says, you get to live because my daughter is giving you that choice, but we understand that you're part of the land and that we live in union with you. There's a unity of consciousness, and we know that you are special, but you can't live on the ranch. But we love you. And I kid you not, this snake that was coiled, and my dad's this close, and he's squatted, I can't squat in the stress, but he's squatted down, and he's talking to the snake, and the snake uncoils and goes right between and goes out into the desert. Now this was the beginning of the teachings that my father started teaching me, because we lived on a ranch, we had cattle, we had horses, and he wanted me to learn about the energies on the planet and how animals and people and how we communicate. I know this now as an adult. We call it the electric magnetic field. You've heard of this. And also I learned too, I'm going to bring this up later, it's called light language. So language is what we have. Now, just something to let you know, we have, your soul is only 30% in your body. The other 70% is outside of your body. Wait, what? Yeah, if you think about, now think about this. If you think about a Mini Cooper, which I drive a Mini Cooper, they're small, and you stick an elephant into the Mini Cooper, you stuff it into the Mini Cooper, most of it's going to be sticking out. Well, this is you, the human being. So right now, what you're doing is you're standing there, or you're sitting there, actually you're sitting, and your soul is sticking out, just like the elephant on this Mini Cooper. And you're communicating without realizing it. Your brain, but your spirit brain is communicating. And this is language. And my dad wanted me to know this, because if I get in trouble, which it did happen, I ended up in a bullpen by accident. I wasn't paying attention. We were feeding the animals, and I just took the feed and stuck it into the bullpen. I crawled in, me and my 9-year-old body at that time, crawled into the pen, stuck it down, and the bull looks at me, and it's like, this is not good. And I'm looking like, oh, we did something, and this bull's getting angry, and it's starting like it's going to charge. And I remembered what my father taught me, and it goes back to the snake. What I learned is that I can communicate with this being, and I can tell it that I'm okay. That was the purpose of the snake. And so I, all of a sudden, took my fear. Now, when we get afraid of something, it goes out into our field, and it communicates to the rest of the world. And we participate on so many levels. I'm going to talk about consciousness in a minute. But when we are communicating, we're sending those signals out. And animals and babies, children, they're more sensitive to it. A lot of us close it down, and they react to it. So as I start to relax a little bit, calm myself down, and hold my space, the bull all of a sudden stops pawing and getting angry and starts eating whatever it was doing. And I very quickly get out of the pen and then freak out on the other side. And I didn't want to tell my dad, because I knew my dad would be mad that I wasn't paying attention. One more story I'm going to tell you about my dad. Another time I came home, I think it was about 9, and he had an Indian teepee. My mom, he always said, your mom lives in the house, I lived in this Indian teepee. And so he was putting up his teepee, and he said, Anna, I want you to go out and get the stones, and they're going to go around the fire. And I said, okay, I can do that. There are kittens in the barn. Okay, a 9-year-old, you want to go play with the kittens. You don't want to be picking up stones. So I was going and picking up these stones, and I was dropping them. Boom. And I did that. And my dad, he scratched his head, and he said, honey, and he started laughing. He said, these stones are conscious. Oh, Dad, really? Yeah, they're conscious. And I'm like, no, Dad. And he goes, and you're asleep. Really? No, Dad, I'm awake. Look at me, I'm awake. And they're not conscious. These are stones. And he goes, these are called the stone people, and they are conscious. No, he said, come here, I want to show you something. So he puts the stone, and he has me squat down, and he goes, I want you to communicate with this rock. Really? I'd rather go play with the kittens. He says, I want you to see that the rock has a consciousness to it. Okay. So I sat there, and see if my dad's paying attention. And after a while, he started laughing, and he said, okay, go ahead, go play with the kittens. And I was like, thank you, and I ran off. You see, what people and what I didn't know at the time was that my dad was actually giving me the keys to the universe. And I learned this much later in my 30s, quite by accident. I learned the consciousness and how we're connected happened, and of course I'm one of those people, I can't read it or I have to experience it. So spirits decide that I need to experience this. When I was 30, I woke up one morning. I kid you not, I'm totally awake. You know how you wake up, and it must have been a Saturday because we had small kids, and you have to, usually if it's during the week, you have to jump up and go get breakfast and get kids ready and stuff. So I noticed that when I woke up and the animals were stirring and this beautiful sunlight was coming in through, there were these ginormous, maybe 12-foot tall, beautiful light beings, golden light. Now, I've tried to describe them to people, and I've painted them, but they look kind of like the Oscars. Everybody seen the Oscars when they say, that's what they look like. And they're like 12 feet tall, and they're just standing on my side of the bed. Now, my husband, who's here, he was snoring, and he was sound asleep. And I'm like, am I awake? Excuse me. And I'm, patting myself. And I open my eyes, and I close my eyes, and I open them, and close them again, and then I said, yes? And they said, Anna, now they're telepathically talking to me, and I am wide awake. I sit up in bed, and they said, this is not what it's about. Okay, so I'm a housewife. I cook and clean, take care of kids. I work at the church. I do all the things. I'm a jewelry, at that time I had a jewelry business. I make my own jewelry. And they said, this is not what it's about. And then behind me, I hear this voice, almost this masculine voice that said, let me tell you what it's about. And I went, oh, wait a minute. Let me show you what it's about. And I was like, no, I don't want to see what it's about. I don't know you, and I'm actually a little scared. And so behind me, I hear, actually in front of me, the two beings in front of me said, all right, she's not ready. And the other one said, she's not ready. And behind me, I hear this voice, very masculine, very strong, like a father voice, said, get her ready. Whoa, what does that mean? And then these beautiful golden light beings fade out, they're gone. And I thought, just in front of my eyes, I reach over and I wake up my husband and I said, honey, wake up. Somebody's here and they're gonna take me away. I don't know, something's gonna happen. You need to, and I was scared. Later I was telling a friend at our church and she said, why were you afraid? They're like angels. And I said, well, and it is scary to see these, you don't normally see these golden beings standing there. Later I developed this wonderful relationship with them. But anyway, so as I'm scared and just trying to get into that point of what do we do now? So I wasn't ready. My whole life turned into a kind of like Alice in Wonderland, when you go down this, when she goes down the rabbit hole, you don't know which way's up, which way's down. The things that I thought were important were no longer important. Everything came to a crash, and that's what the journey into the Sacred Heart was about. Is about moving into this frequency, this energy that had shifted, because all of a sudden I was awakened. I understood what my father meant. Another story. It was a couple of months later, I was sitting in my chair. Now, I am a housewife, as you know, and I'm sitting there and I'm knitting. Kids are at school, husband's at work. Oh my gosh, all the chores are done. And I'm so happy. I'm in love with my project. If you knit, you can just get into this meditation of just joy. And the next thing I know, I astral project out of my head, the crown of my head, up here. And I notice that I'm looking down at the top of my head, and I'm not looking out of the eyes below me. I'm actually looking out of these eyes here. And not only can I can see everything around me. And I thought, well, wait a minute. Let's see. I'm not dead. My body's there, but I'm okay. And the golden beings came, these beautiful beings, and they came and they said, Anna, do you want to know what it's about? And I was like, okay, I'm game. Because by that time I was kind of getting used to them. They were making visits. And I said, okay. And the next thing I know, now, what I didn't say is when you're in that state and you're astral projecting in this part, I noticed that everything was particles and atoms and frequencies, and yet I could see things solidly. And everything had this energy of love. Did you know that when you are outside of your body or you're communicating, that everything is love? And I thought, wow, that's really cool. And when you're in love, you're okay. And I said, sure. Well, the next thing I know, we ascend, so we go up. And we don't go up like higher. I'm still here. Something shifts in my consciousness. And things fall off of me. Kind of like if I were to drop this little jacket here. Things fall off, and I'm going, what was that? And the being said, those are all your worries and your fears. And I went, but I'm in love. Where are those worries and fears? Well, they're things that attach to us, that we carry and we don't realize. They're baggage, and sometimes they're things that we carry. And so the next thing I know, they said, what would you like to do? Okay, I am so curious about things. And I said, okay, my friends next door, they live next door. I want to know what they're doing. Boom, in a second, I am consciously with them. I can see my friend washing dishes, her daughter's vacuuming, they're having a conversation, I can hear them. I'm not in their house, but I am in their, oh, it's over here. I am in their consciousness. I can hear them talking, I can hear them thinking. I thought, wow, this is amazing. The next thing, Spirit goes, would you like to try something else? Well, yeah, this is great, heck yeah. And so the next thing they said, okay. And I heard everybody in our neighborhood. I could hear people on the phone. I could hear the people that were home. I could hear people mowing the lawn. I heard what they're doing. And this was amazing. And finally, they said, was there anything else you want to hear? And I said, I want to hear all of Arlington, Texas, because that's where I live. And Spirit said, okay, and boom. Would you believe in that second, I could hear everybody's thoughts in Arlington, Texas. I could hear and understand them just like I'm communicating with you. And you can hear me, and I can hear you, and we're talking. I understood. And I wasn't overwhelmed. And I thought, wow, this is so cool. This is how God hears our prayers. And then I thought, but I'm not God. Wait. And boom, I'm back into my physical body knitting, going, what just happened? Well, you see, doubt does not exist on those planes. Unconditional love, curiosity, that exists on these higher realms. I was talking to a lady we used to do, where we had speakers come in at the school, and I was talking to this woman. She died. She came back. And as we were talking, apparently we had the same experience. See, I was alive, and I didn't die, but I had the same experience that a person has when they die. And this is what it's like when we pass, is how we step into the journey and we merge into these consciousness. Now, I have to say, my parents always told me I'm special. And I know I'm special, but so are you. I'm not any more special than any of us, because what I just did wasn't something that was out of range. Every one of you have the opportunity to do exactly or to merge into these consciousness. So I learned, too, that this is what my father was telling me. And also in that moment, I forgot to tell you, that I understood that everything was conscious because I experienced it. Okay, so God wasn't what I thought God was. God was, and I'm going to say it correctly because I always mispronounce it, but it's omnipotent. We practiced that when I was driving here. But omnipotent, what does that mean, right? What does omnipotent mean? Is beyond anything. Because in that moment, it's like being a part of the ocean, and you're the drop of ocean. And the ocean is you, and you're part of it. And there isn't any barriers. You see, had I not stopped with Arlington, I could have kept going, because there was no limitations of how I was merging into this energy of this one consciousness. So I love that you guys were talking and singing about it, because it is. I also learned by these beings because they became my teachers. Another story. Woke up one morning, they always get me when I'm awake, and they pull me out of my body. And we astral project to the ocean, and I'm looking out in the ocean. Because I'd asked the question the night before, I said, are we God or are we not God? See, my dad always said we're God. And the pastor said that if we said we were God, then we'd get smited down. So, which is it? And so we're standing on the beach, and I'm looking out the ocean. I'm like, yeah, and why are we here? And they said, this beautiful golden arm comes down, and I could see this pointing down at the sand, and said, do you see that grain of sand? And I said, yes. And they said, you are the grain of sand, and God is the beach. Therefore, you are God, and God is you. See, we're not limited of how we connect with this consciousness on the planet. What I need to tell you is these beings ended up becoming my teachers, taking me on these astral projections. This is what we teach at the school. I never thought I'd be a school. I am dyslexic and 7 different types of dyslexia. There is no reason why I should be able to read, but my parents never told me I couldn't read, so I read all the time. I also write, and we wrote a book. Wrote the book in 6 months. It was 600 pages. It took 4 people to edit it. And it took us 4 years to go through it. And now it's 300 pages, because a lot of it we took out. But the point is, there's nothing that you can't do. One more story that I need to tell you is that at the church, I was part of the church and the staff at a church in Arlington, and we were invited to come up and sing. And you can sing joyful. I love to sing. I don't sing on key, but I love singing. And they let me sing in the band. And we had this worship ceremony, person who was up in front who was singing, leader, and just like your beautiful voice. And people would come and they would fall on their knees and they'd give their lives to Jesus and God. And I was back there with my microphone. They turned my microphone off. I did not know that till later. But anyway, because I really was bad. You'd hear the note. But we were singing, and it's a Christian song. It's called the Revelation Song. And the lead singer sings the song, and she holds this note, and then the rest of us jump onto this, and it's just this harmony. Oh my goodness. And we hold the note. It's like getting on a train. And so I'm up there singing, and we hit that note, and I sing, and I astral project out of my head. And I go into this light, all light. You've heard when you die, you go into the light? Well, I actually went there. And these golden beings, there were actually 4, and they're doing stuff. And they said, Anna, what are you doing? And I said, I'm here. And they said, Anna, you have to go back. And I'm like, no, I'm not going back. I'm here. And they said, Anna, you are down there and you're still holding the note. And I went, all right, fine. And so I pushed myself back. Now, if you've ever taken a light, shined it in front of your eyes, you start to see all these like blobs and things. And so that's what it was like coming back into this body. And as I come back and we're singing, because they never stop singing, and I'm going, what just happened? What was that? I'm thinking that. What just happened? And the golden being said, they didn't say anything. They're very quiet. When we get off, we go sit down, the band sits down, and the pastor, who's OCD, and he's always there, because it's just before lunch, and you got to get people out for lunch, because they get kind of grumpy when they want to be at lunch. So he usually jumps up, but nobody moved. What I forgot to tell you is when I came back into my body, I saw this wave of energy go over the whole congregation. Beautiful wave. Nobody moved. Whatever happened changed everybody. And there were people in the audience or in the congregation that burst out into gold light all around them in their aura, and people that were pitch black as my dress. The people that were gold light were engaged and excited, and the people that were black were uncomfortable. I love color black, by the way. It makes me look thinner. But, their aura was black. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, what's just happened? What just happened? Because we saw this energy. Nothing. It wasn't until I was on the drive home. My kids and family had gone to the first service. They were already home making spaghetti and getting things ready, that I heard my name, Anna. When one remembers, others will remember. And I've been in this congregation for 20 years, and I said, well, so-and-so and so-and-so. And they said, no, it's a choice. It only takes one to remember. The message I want to share is there are 4 levels of consciousness, and I'm coming back to this, is that there's the individual consciousness, me, myself, and I, and then there's group consciousness, and there's millions and trillions of group consciousness. You're all a part. This church is a consciousness, and you all agree to be here. There's different types of consciousness, and we see it, and the world's kind of being a little bit of turmoil right now because they're purging. But what we learn, too, is there's also collective, and collective creates the physical reality. These candles, me. When we agree that this is what a candle looks like, or this is what an altar looks like, or this is what some seats look like, then the atoms, and this is quantum physics, they all come together and they create that experience, and we all experience it. It's a hologram. And then there's oneness that I was talking about, where we're all a part of one, and it's omnipotent. And guess what? Every one of you, including me, are part of 4 levels of consciousness, and you're participating on it, and you're co-creating all the time. as you move into this energy. So what you need to know is that we go back to what Spirit said. It only takes one. When you go out and you participate with somebody, or you communicate, or you watch something that makes you upset, it goes out in your energy fields, in your light language. And it affects other people. Ever be in a room where you know that this energy is shifted? Or healing. If you bring a lot of people and where more than one gather in my name, you bring people in, right? Then it shifts the energy and people start to heal. So I'm going to leave you with this. The last thing I want to say is just remember how powerful you are. And by the way, the world behind me, the reason it's behind me is because, again, the beings came to me and they said, we want to show you something. And it's like a candlelight. Each one of you lights another person's candle. Do you blow it out, or do you light somebody else's candle? Because that's what's happening on the planet. We are shifting and we are changing the world. And when you show up, how do you show up? So think about it and remember just how powerful you are. These beings, they created a school, and we teach a lot of things. We teach you how to remember your light language, how to remember what you're putting out in the world, how you're co-creating. And you're not just co-creating in your families or the church, you're co-creating on the world and the planet. You're participating in this. I want to thank my lovely staff here. I've got Michelle, who's our chancellor here, and Elle, who's our outreach. And they have forgiveness. There's a prayer card that we have. It's a forgiveness card. And it actually does change your life. It's 21 days. And if you want to come by, we'd be happy to share. We've got some incredible volunteers here, Ning and Alma, and they can help you. We're also doing the class this afternoon, and we'll be teaching a little bit more about how to connect and how to remember how to connect. But it's in every one of you. And so I thank you for letting me talk, and I think I'm a little over time, but I appreciate the time, and thank you.